Welcome to Ignite Success. I'm your host, Snowden McFall, professional speaker, author, and coach. And with me today is a very impressive young woman who is also a teacher, making tremendous strides nationwide with her children. Please welcome Amy Donofrio.
Thanks for having me.
That's a mouthful there.
Yeah,
So, Amy, one of the things that makes the work that you've been doing so extraordinary is that you've been working with what has been termed traditionally at-risk youth, and you call them at hope.
That's right.
So, distinguish that for us.
So when we see kids as at risk, we see their deficiencies. We see where they can go wrong, and Evac's goal is to see where kids can go right, where their value is, where their skills and gifts are, and how can we capitalize on those as a city.
So how did this whole program get started?
Oh, gosh. I think people think it's always more formal than it is, but it happened really organically. So I was a teacher at Lee High School, 7 years into teaching, and I was given the opportunity to do an upperclassmen leadership class. Originally, it wasn't supposed to be all boys. It turned into all boys. And we started exploring their stories, things they had in common, experiencing police brutality, issues in the justice system, loss of loved ones from homicide. And we thought, well, what can we do about it? Right. So we started by inviting some JSO officers in for a roundtable, and things just kind of snowballed. They went back and invited other people from the justice system in. And after a while, we're like, we need a name. What can we call this? Evac.
So, and why Evac? Because I know it has something to do with the cave, right?
It does. So Evac is cave backwards, and Plato's allegory of the cave is always my first lesson of the year for my classes. And so
for people who don't know what that is, why don't you explain?
If you don't know, you need to read it. But basically, it's this really old allegory about prisoners who've been chained in a cave since birth. And they don't know they're in chains, they don't know they're in a cave until one day a liberator descends the steps, unbinds their chains, and leads them to the light. And once you have been liberated, it's your responsibility to go back and liberate others. So they liberate other youth through their stories, letting them know they're not alone, giving them hope. And they also liberate adults into understanding of the realities of youth so they can make better decisions for them.
And you've gotten national attention from this. One of your gentlemen was invited to the White House and you all went, is that right?
Yes, so the whole class was invited to the White House. One of the kids did testify on Capitol Hill.
Which is amazing. It's so
it's
incredible.
Crazy. A lot of them, it was their first time, even out of town.
Right.
And we went to the White House. They've presented at Harvard 3 times in the last year. We just got back from Ferguson, Missouri. They flew us out because they're interested in doing the same thing. And it's so cool because it's the kids who are going there to teach them, right?
That's right, which is wonderful, which is really amazing. And you were at Harvard too with the superintendents, right, yourself?
Yes. So every year Harvard has a gathering for all of the superintendents who graduated from Harvard, and they do a conference, and we were the keynote presenters there in May.
Which is incredible. It's so inspirational. The Duval County schools should be so proud of you because you're making such a difference. Now tell me what kinds of lessons, because I've watched your TED. She also, by the way, folks, has a TED Talk, just in case, you didn't catch all
our
of her.
TED Talk.
Yes. Yeah, well, yes, her group has a TED Talk, and it's very inspirational. One of the things that's most striking about that is the way that you open it. And can you tell our viewers what that is? And I encourage you to go and watch the TED Talk.
So essentially, whenever we have people come to our class for these roundtables, we show them our class data. And so we read off some statistics. We say, raise your hand, and we have everybody in the room raise their hand. Raise your hand if you've had a loved one incarcerated for a significant period of time. Every hand in the room goes up. Raise your hand if you've lost a close loved one to murder. Almost every hand in the room goes up. If you've lost a loved one to murder, yes. If you've been detained and questioned by police 3 or more times. If you've been shot at. And these numbers, for me, I thought I was close to students. I'd been teaching 7 years. But when I saw the volume of kids who had been through this, not just in that class, but I started doing it in all my classes, I couldn't believe how many youth in our city are going through circumstances that most adults wouldn't be able to handle, let alone thrive in.
So what are your students learning in Evac, and what are they teaching when they go out to the other places and speaking about it?
I think they're using how to channel the things that have caused them grief and even shame into creating change so that other kids don't have to go through the same thing. For example, one of the ones who actually went to Ferguson with us last week, his brother was murdered the summer before ninth grade, and he had a pretty positive to neutral opinion of police prior to that. But when he shares his story, he says, when the police showed up, the very first thing they said to me was not, I'm so sorry. They said, was your brother a gang member? And he said, that was the moment that I started hating police.
Ooh.
And so our goal with Evac is to take situations like that and go, instead of channeling this for hate, right, and resentment, how do we build bridges? How do we use this to make our city better and other kids don't go through it? So he actually gave a presentation to the JSO homicide unit on how to be more compassionate to victims' families. Yeah, it was a really positive thing. And so that's really the goal, is taking this stuff that is causing you so much pain and finding some redemption in it to make change. Which
is so wonderful. Well, we are so proud of you and your group and everything that you're doing, and people can find out more by watching the TED Talk, learning more about Evac, and you have a website, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the website address?
It's evacmovement.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all you do. You're a testament to great teachers.
The kids are testament to great kids. Let's support them.
The kids are amazing. Yeah. They are amazing. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.